What's up, guys? It's Hedgie, and Carl has just posted the state of the beta number 6. This is pretty much a dev to player communication about what's going on in the Awakening. Let's go ahead and review this and talk about it and see what kind of impacts I think are gonna it's gonna have on the game. We've been on load time for over the last few weeks and have been rather than sacrificing development time, we've substantially trimmed out the amount of explanation we gave about changes. We get great player data from the beta, so we felt like explaining everything was unnecessary and that we could focus on our efforts on making more changes rather than explaining the ones we've already made. As supporters of the game and players of the game, we owe you good communication. We will make sure we make more manifesto posts that outline planned changes, and I will take the time to discuss what is going on in each patch. The first such manifesto post is here: map drops and the Awakening. As you know, in the Awakening there's a new sequence of maps that include many new types of maps based on the Act 4 areas. This new map sequence has different art. We've also adjusted the levels of maps to be laid out better. The old maps still exist at their old levels with the old art, but they will drop new maps. Over the last few weeks, our balance team has been experimenting with various rates of map drops on the closed beta servers. The data collected has been extremely useful and has helped us decide various small changes to the map system that you'll be seeing in the Awakening. There are 3 goals for our changes. For players to choose to play harder maps by rolling them to have more and harder mods. For players to choose to kill the boss rather than occasionally skipping it. For players to find the highest tiers of maps challenging to compete and sustain. And overall, this is exactly what I've been feeling in the beta. If you guys have tuned into my stream and have watched me do like high level maps, I've definitely been alking and chiseling and very struggling. I'm really struggling to keep up my map pool. It's all too often that I'll get maybe a handful of 80s or a few 81s, and then I'll go right back down to 78s, and I'm still rolling them pretty hard, about 1 to 5 chaos each at least, sometimes more. And it's also worth noting that on a cartographer you can no longer run or roll the mirrored mod, and the quantity only goes up to 40. The roll is 30 to 40, so it's more often than not better just to roll additional quantity and get additional items, or get +1 to map level. On the closed beta, the drop rate for higher maps that we've been testing recently is lower than the live realm. While there are several mapping groups in the beta happily sustaining the highest tiers of maps, it took them a lot more effort to get there than it normally does. We want to bring this experience to more players. Now that we have gathered the data we've needed, we've planned for the following changes. Increased drop rate of higher tier maps so that it's closer to, but not the same as, that of the live servers. So they felt like they over-nerfed the map drop rate, and they're going to bring it a little bit higher, maybe halfway. Making map bosses more challenging and more rewarding to fight. Though they will drop more items and maps than they currently do. Note that they will now be the only monsters that drop maps 2 tiers above the current map level. Magic, rare, unique monsters will be able to drop maps 1 tier above the current level. So this is a big change. That means exiles and rares only drop +1, and magic monsters are they're all the same. Of course, they each have a higher chance to drop more items and additionally more maps, but it's important to note that only the last boss in the game will drop +2, and it should have a much higher chance of dropping a +2. That's definitely a big improvement. It incentivizes you guys to make an effort to kill the boss or find somebody that can kill the boss, so that you can continue your map pools and expand. And it'll really reward the pyramid type thing, where you're building up your base and trying to get to that end game map, and it'll really push you to push your build and min-max it, or come up with some strategies or alternative means to take down these tough bosses for big rewards. I like it. It's a good change. It's all too often we see people running 78 courtyards, blue, regals, just so that they're easy because they can. because they can find a card to revitalize their map pool from having like nothing, and just chaining those mirrored maps, getting so much XP. Zana, Exiles, Cartographers, Ambush Boxes, Beyond, Double Beyond, all these things like greatly increase, you know, the tools that you need to sustain. And I feel like GGG is like, well, all these benefits are getting out of control and it's just way too easy. So we want leveling to be prestigious. You know, you got to roll those maps pretty hard, and you know, slow it down just a tad bit. Back in Anarchy Onslaught, it took 2.5 months. Granted, we didn't have Untainted Paradise, we didn't have level 78 mods, we had Exiles, that's it. No ambush boxes, no double beyond, no Zana, you know, all those things. And it was a very prestigious thing because everybody rolled their maps hard. You had to roll for maze and area, and then you had to have good mods on top of that, and sometimes it took up to like 60 chaos just to roll one map. Back in the day, maps used to cost anywhere from 4 to 6 exalts per 77. Now you can get a 77 for like half an X and a 78 for a 1. So definitely a different meta, but we should, you know, see a shift, or you know, some value going into the next, you know, pairing of challenge leagues. If you like to play permanent leagues, now would be a great time to stock up, because you know, you can use the old maps to get new ones, and they're probably very, very cheap now, and it's going to be much harder to level up. Another thing that they said is, we will review map mods and make sure that the challenge is rewarded with an appropriate level of additional item drops. The change of having only map bosses drop +2 level maps is not intended as a strict nerf. Those bosses will now drop additional items, so you should see more +2 maps from them. It's worth noting that +2 maps are a dangerous thing, that they can cause players to get out of their depth playing maps that are too hard for the items that they currently have. We expect these changes to both help with the situation and to also provide an understandable way to have a chance at +2 map, killing the map boss. In addition to the map changes described above, we should note that Merciless Act 4 is intended to be very difficult content. It'll provide a way to challenge your character without having to play in maps. So a lot of people have been complaining or expressing their concern with Act 4 Merciless just being a giant step up to the difficulty in the game. And that's trying to, you know, get you guys ready for, you know, what's ahead. And I love this. I love that they're communicating back to us, justifying these reasons of why they're changing the stuff and showing you the direction and their vision. And maybe this will cause less QQing on Reddit and on the forums, but you know, people get bummed out. They just hear nerf after nerf after nerf, and they don't really get to hear anything from the developer other than like once a week. And these patches, you know, it honestly feels like kind of like a ninja stealth nerf, you know, and that doesn't really communicate to the players that are attached to those specific abilities or items or builds. And you know, it goes a long way just to communicate back to the community, and I really enjoy that. Like uncut diamonds, Carl goes on into saying, there have been several questions about which unique jewels will be returning. We've made some missteps with early jewel design. While we've loved what we added, not all the jewels have a place in this game. The following jewels will not return, although their names and flavor and general concept may be reused. Projected Force, Coded Weapons, Sturdy Growth, Wisdom of the Path Not Taken, Surplus, Stimulated Growth, Controlled Energy, and Dark Thoughts. And off the top of my head, this includes the +4 unarmed range for face breakers. I guess you're going to still keep the area but lose the weapon range. Honestly, I feel like this may be unjustified. All they need to do is change the +4 into a smaller number, rebalance it to, I mean, it doesn't really make sense that a face breaker can be as long or have the reach of a two-hander. That's all too easy. So I mean, make it +2 or +3, but still keep it in the game. I think it's a very unique jewel and a huge quality of life for them. Stimulated growth, controlled energy. One of those is 15% life regen when you have full energy shield. And what people were doing were is that we're getting Eldritch Battery, and since their ES now goes to their Mana Globe, all they have to do is just put Blood Magic gems in everything that costs something, and therefore you never spend ES, therefore you have 15% free life regen. That made you way too tanky for way too little. So yeah, a couple of pretty big nerfs. All the gems and jewels that I really like are still in the game. The following jewels may return, but are likely to be rebalanced or function differently. Vampire's Might, Self-Flagellation, which is the self-punishment curse. Specialized, Miser of Misery, and Cannibalistic Habits. That's the leech rate one. Mod modifications. This is a big issue right here. In the Awakening, we're making several changes to item mods. The biggest change is adding new top tier mods for higher item levels. There will be top end mods for attributes, resistances, defenses, and also mods higher than some of the existing most valued mods. There will be better mods, or there are mods better than Tyrannical and Glyphic, for example. This scares me big time because the power creep, Tyrannical and Glyphic are already very strong, you know, and I feel like when you get these mods and land the other, you know, appropriate suffixes and prefixes, like the content just becomes like a joke. It becomes a breeze. And do we really need to extend that even higher? I mean, people already achieve great DPS, and another thing that, you know, may affect the minority of the community, which are the mirror worthy crafters like Axe Inventor, Keypad, and a bunch of others. They've already created these items and they are amazing, and now they're kind of getting overshadowed, or they're going to have to start from scratch. Honestly, it only takes one DPS or one stat attribute until your item becomes, you know, pretty much forgotten. You're going to want to mirror the best item. There's no reason to not get the best. So the competition is kind of like a race restart for weapons, and I feel like this is unnecessary, unless if that was GGG's original intent, to restart the race for crafters. And they've been sitting around, you know, been collecting orbs. All the best items already exist, and it's time for them to make new ones. Is that the idea? I'm not sure. I'm sure a lot of them are upset for all their hard work that they've invested into this game, and yeah, honestly, I don't know. It's already bad enough that they added the new Maraketh weapons, and that creating a whole new tier, but it still had the other ones, you know, in a pretty good spot. Okay, let's go on and talk about some of the other changes that we're going to expect to see. So if you've chosen one of those for your divination card, then we'll be in touch to see if you'd like to change it to the new higher one. As well as the top end mods, we are making adjustments to some existing mods. Some items can also have mods that were previously too high for that item, and some mods have been adjusted. We're also going to be introducing a couple of entirely new mods for the map pool. Most notably, wands, daggers, staves, scepters now get add X to Y fire, cold, and lightning damage to spells. Now this is insanely like wonky. Like, this just makes crafting on a whole nother level. While these are very interesting mods, you're taking weapons that are already really hard to roll and making them even harder. I mean, we're looking at this 41 to 71 fire damage to spells. That's massive. But it's also probably going to have, you know, 5 tiers. I'm guessing that this is the top tier mod on this in this case. Very scary. But I like how, you know, we're gonna have to rethink, you know, whether or not this is more advantageous or spell damage or plus level. It's gonna, you know, shift the numbers around and cause people to rethink what's the best. But it definitely does hurt the bases. Like, you're taking some of the hardest weapons and making them even harder. I honestly feel like stuff that like unique attack based weapons like Era and Pledge and all this stuff may see a spike in, you know, how good they are, because, you know, these things just become impossible to find or roll or whatever. but I'm not sure how I feel about this. I'm guessing this is going to at least add 15 or more mods that you can roll, additional mods, but I'm surprised that they added fire, cold, and lightning and they didn't add anything to physical, which I think could be cool for EK Love, especially with the new Mind Over Matter and me not wanting to have a hybrid spell mana. Instead, I'd rather have like some awesome flat fizz, even if it's like half the value. But it's a new way to scale stuff. Maybe they could have gone about this a different way. I would almost assume that this is a prefix, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Big changes to items. Unlike attack-based damage mods, an item can only have one of these bonuses. So you can't get additional fire, additional lightning, and additional like you can with elemental damage. So that's important to note. Staves get a slightly more powerful version of the mod, similar to the local added damage bonuses to two-handed weapons. This mod will be the third damage increase prefix that spellcaster weapons can now have. Katarina will also provide a craftable version of the mods at her headstones. Because of the addition and other changes such as shotgunning, the damage effectiveness values have been rebalanced. This should make a damage bonus from these mods more even across all spells. So yeah, this is gonna make you rethink and relook at all the damage effectiveness on each gem. I like that. That's a lot of extra theory crafting. Because of the addition and other changes, oh, we've already read that part. So on a side note, on track, number of issues 574. Early July is getting more and more locked in as a release date. When I'm asked if the date is still valid for marketing and server planning purposes, I have been saying yes. As a part of the locked-in date, we have been assessing what features are must-haves and what plans can be pushed back out past the release date if needed. So this is important because they're gonna fix all the critical stuff, and if something needs to be revisited or relooked at, then they can do that at a later date. It's important to them that they launch the Awakening when they said they are, and they're becoming closer and closer to just committing to this date. So that was a pretty long read. I hope you guys like this, and I do think that the map changes are very good. These jewels being eliminated, some of these broken jewels being eliminated, except the Facebreaker one, I feel like was a little bit unwarranted. Just needed a slight nerf. It should have been in this grouping. And the mod modifications, it's pretty much just a reset of mirror-worthy stuff. You might want to sell off what you have if this goes live. I've already seen and heard of people trying to dump their current mirror-worthy items because they know it's just going to lose value as soon as the expansion hits. This also means that alterations are going to be even more scarce. Not only are we going to have to craft brand new jewels, everybody's going to want alterations for that, regals, and crafting these mods with even more affixes. That's just like more alterations being needed, and we may see ratios like 5 to 1, or it's going to be pretty crazy. It may just be so cost efficient if you want to craft just the chaos roll. We'll bring it back to chaos, and we'll leave the alterations to the high-end crafters. But that's it for now. This is Hedgie, over and out. Feel free to hit the like and subscribe button and share it with your friends. Peace out.